they know that she passed away. I said, my mom. And naturally, thoughts of what an amazing person she really was. I know she was admired by many because of her kindness and just her enormous love to just be friendly and warm to people. She was courageous and she was adventurous. She had many outstanding achievements in school and in life. And I think my mom has an amazing noble qualities that I can't even list enough this time, and I don't want to take up too much time. As the priest had mentioned earlier regarding how vibrant she was. A phrase that came to my mind that someone had shared, and I think maybe it gets passed on to our family, about our characteristic from our family trait maybe is that her energy knows no bounds. My mom was sunshine. She was sunshine to many of you, and I can tell because we don't come and visit that much in this town, and all of you that have approached us right away, you have so many wonderful memories to share about my mommy, and I can tell that she made your life joyful. Yes, she was certainly exuberant, resilient, hardworking, extremely giving, faithful. She was also a genius. Her brain worked amazingly, and I actually see that in my little nieces, Hope and Grace, and the older niece, Megan. My mom was loyal, sometimes to a fault. She was stubborn and a fighter, and at times I see where I get my steepness from. In 3 words, my mom was kind, intelligent, and brave. Thank you for your time.
Many of you ask if I'm the daughter in Wenatchee, and that would be me. I'm the youngest. As my sisters and I grieve my mother's loss, we are overwhelmed with so many things to think about, so many matters to consider now. But I know that my mom would have wanted me to consider her love for her sisters and the love that so many of her friends and acquaintances had for her. There are so many people we meet in life, whether in passing, briefly, or long term. My mother was a person who, when you met her, left a marked impression on you, whether it was once or intimately. Shortly after my mother passed, I ran into a guy who I worked with while interpreting. He was new to the Wenatchee area, and I told him where my mother's store was. Apparently, he went to her store and was not aware that my mother had passed away, and as he and I passed in the hallway, with a twinkle in his eye and a grin on his face, and almost without needing to use words, I could have guessed what the look meant. It had something to do with my mother. He said to me with that glimmer in his eye and that smile on his face in a simple sentence, "I met your mother." My mom, she left an impression the first time she met someone. Although they didn't know her very well, they could surmise a lot about her by meeting her. Although they didn't know her experiences that shaped her into that accepting, kind, giving, savvy person she was, they could see the product of her experiences, her character. A woman born in the era of the Great Depression, a woman who understood the value of things, even when they became passé. Every time someone gave her furniture, she accepted it if it was real wood. With huge eyes, she would say, "It's real wood." Value, worth, things my mother understood. Shortly before she passed, she came into my home with one of her classic women's dress coats. I can't remember if it was one of her many coats with mink or fur. Many of these coats were gifted to her by family members of her deceased patients at Highline Convalescent Center. As I looked for homes last year, I found a home that was within view of her Highline Convalescent Center, where she dedicated the majority of her years in nursing, and it filled me with a great sense of comfort. So many times she would come home after her shifts as a registered nurse and tell stories of some simple words of kindness she exchanged with one of her patients, and how the old people reacted, how they loved her, and how their family members would profusely thank her for their loved one. Now, looking back at my mother's clothes, I realized she couldn't let those coats go, not only because they were beautiful, classic, and stylish, but also because those little old ladies loved her and she loved them back. She embodied the chicness of the day in which she lived. Call it what you like, eccentric, creative, stylish. One day she came into my home fully corded and accessorized with pink salmon polyester vest, scalloped pockets, and matching suit pants. I admired the detail on the scalloped pockets. And by the way, I did find that suit. Not many 70-year-old women continued the stylish apparel of their era. In her day, she actually really was like a Jackie Onassis. And sometimes I would see her and suddenly dress beautifully like a woman of another era, and I would almost gasp. And I would say, "Wow, Mom, you look cool. You are pimping that fur." Or, "You got the suit. You're slamming the salmon." I was always teasing her about her clothes. And she would sometimes say, "Well, do you want it?" Sometimes I'd say, "Yeah, I do." Sometimes I'd say, "Oh, it's okay, I'll wait." I see her style in my daughter's apparel choices. Hope has to match what is above with what is down below, must accessorize her jewelry and purse. Grace loves things that look valuable but with a sense of history and labor. Lace, emblems, embroidery, hand-stitched emblems. Their cousin Megan also got my mom's volleyball prowess. She was the lead captain in volleyball. Also, she gets lead roles in theatrical presentations. She also got Grandma's stylish flair. I see in my sisters the qualities that my mom possessed. My eldest sister, Azucena, whom my mom and dad nicknamed Sen Sen, Filipino customary term of affection. Josephine was Pen Pen, and I was Din Din. There is a picture circulating around Facebook of my mom in an orange sleeveless blouse that has a look of pensiveness and quietness. But it was not just quiet. When it was quiet, it was a deafening quiet, because she loves to talk as much as my sister Josephine and I do. My sister Azucena, the eldest, represents my mom's quiet, determined strength. And to mark my mother's accomplished children, I will say Azucena graduated valedictorian at Eastmont High School in 1988 with a double major from the University of Washington. Josephine, very popular in high school, was also the National Honor Society president as well as a UW grad. She is one, simply put, the one that got my mom's sense with how to play the money game and win. Although I share my sister's academic achievements, I am most thankful for getting my mother and father's love for culture, travel, and adventure. And I know she bonded with many of the Hispanic community here in Wenatchee because it reminded her of the Spanish tradition passed along to the Philippines. She regularly, toward the end of her life, attended the ceremony for the Catholic Mass for the Hispanics at 3 p.m. because she felt like one. She spoke Spanish. Often when I interpret, I ask the Hispanics ask me how it is I know Spanish, and I say, our grandfathers are Spaniards, just like the Mexican people. That is what my mom would do, find something in common with people. I think one of my greatest accomplishments that made my mom proud reflected my mom's love for flair. I won an Inspirational Award and a Best Actress Regional Award, and my mom loved to talk about her lead roles, but she wouldn't tell me about them, she would reenact them. She would start out, "Father Time," and the rest I can't remember, but I can see her facial expression and body posturing and see the same look on my daughter's faces at times. I applaud her and say, "Hope, I love the facials. Grace, you're truly an actress like Grandma." I remember after my dad retiring and my mom continued nursing, I would come home from school and talk to my dad. He was always in the garden or in his shop. He would nervously realize the time when I got home and say, "Good God, it's getting late. Your mother's coming home. I need to finish something and cook for her and look as if I've been productive and accomplished something today." My mom would go to the garden when she got home and my dad would show her his accomplishments. Then we would eat at the table and I would get up and go about my evening while my mom and dad continued talking and talking and talking and talking for hours. Their exchange of ideas seemed seemingly inexhaustible. Several months before my mother's death, she did many things that indicated she may have been aware of an impending departure from this earth. She took a month-long trip to the Holy Land with her cousin. When she came back, I saw a different sense of energy. I said, "Mom, are you okay?" She said, "Yes, I'm just so tired." "You really got your money's worth with that trip," she told me. "They just keep dragging you from one place to another. It was really cool." I remember thinking to myself, I don't think I have ever seen such an exhilarating experience zap my mother's energy like this. A woman who many thought seemed to have a bottomless fountain of energy. It was almost as if the trip brought her to a point of realization, defeat, and surrender.